There are many ways of getting social media data. You can scrape it. There are automated techniques where you go through HTML pages, and there are techniques trying to fool Facebook, to trying to scrape as many Facebook pages as possible. You can literally copy it by hand. You can screen grab it. You can take notes. I started doing social media research literally by writing down things on a notepad, looking at Facebook pages. There are lots of different techniques, but the most important one, and the one I would like to kind of put on everyone's horizon, is through the API. Imagine it's like a kind of technical gatekeeper. It's the point of joining between you and the social media platform. It's owned by the social media platform and controlled by the social media platform, and the platform sets the rules of the game. It will tell you how much data you can acquire, in what formats, under what conditions, in what scales. And you plug your own research system in to the API, and you can acquire then at incredibly large scales kind of data in wholesale form. Facebook's got lots of APIs. Most of these are for app developers, really. Facebook's only beginning to shift now into wanting to be part of the kind of big data age. Facebook still very much regards itself as an advertising company, and it develops apps to allow data to be swapped with third-party developers to essentially allow better adverts to happen. Twitter, on the other hand, is completely different. Twitter has APIs which allow you to acquire millions and millions and millions of tweets. And when we talk about social media research, actually, often it's kind of a euphemism for Twitterology. By far, Twitterology has attracted the most attention in the academic world to date. And that is because the technical and moral difficulties of acquiring Twitter data are far less than other platforms, which both impose more technical hurdles and also, I think, pose us all more ethical problems. And these are the three APIs which we use on Twitter. Search, which allows you to acquire all tweets which contain keywords starting now and going back a week. Stream, which allows you to acquire all tweets containing the keywords starting now and going off into the future. And sample, which Twitter says is a random 1% of the tweet stream. Now all of these, for all of us, if we don't want to pay any money, are limited at 1% of the tweet stream, the rate limit. So often people will kind of suspiciously say, oh, are you connected up to the Twitter fire hose? Can you acquire as many tweets as you want? Well, 1% of the Twitter of the tweet stream is now 5 million tweets a day, and we've never hit that rate limit. So essentially, I'm saying that through these APIs, you can gather as many, all the tweets on a given phenomenon that you want, really, realistically. These are new social worlds. Unfortunately, social media is also a disruptive technology, which has really fractured our idea of privacy. So privacy means lots of different things now to lots of different people. And it's also fractured our idea, I think, of a robust framework for research ethics. So we've been complaining for a long time that the current guidance, which is being issued by the ESRC, cannot and does not fit with the kind of research which is now popularly being done on social media. It's incredibly difficult to know how to navigate this. Some universities, I think, have been far too overly permissive in the research they've allowed to happen, sometimes with scandalous results. And other universities have essentially not allowed any social media research to happen. And a lot of social media research has gone through computer science departments which don't even go through an ethics procedure at all. So there's an enormous amount of inconsistency across the board about what actually counts as being research on social media which capably manages the harms posed to research participants. I think especially concepts like informed consent are now, it's so difficult to know in fact what place that has and where that should actually be used when you're studying millions and millions and millions of tweets or Facebook posts. Natural language processing kind of came out of obscurity, really, over the last few years. It started its life in the kind of 1970s as quite a strange part of linguistics that sought to measure language using maths. And it remained a fairly niche discipline then for decades after that, until really social media came along and other data sets which forced us to begin to rely on computers to understand the meaning of content for us, and then suddenly natural language processing completely exploded. And if you go to the Natural Language Processing Conference now, it's 10 times bigger than it was 3 years ago. Natural language processing essentially combines mathematics and linguistics together to mathematically try and understand the properties of language. Now, it's not usually understanding words as words. It's simply understanding them as strings of letters. It could be anything. It doesn't care whether it's German or French or Chinese. It's simply understanding these things as statistical attributes. And the most important way in how we're using natural language processing is to create something called the Natural Language Processing Classifier. Now, if you imagine that social media, say the tweet stream, say we're collecting 100,000 tweets a day, imagine that's a kind of gushing torrent of data. It's complex, it's messy, it contains loads of nonsense, it contains lots of irrelevant data, and yet it also does contain data that we care about. These natural language processing NLP classifiers are like sluice gates. They allow you to essentially begin to control and divide this unimaginable flow of data into smaller rivulets which you can then understand. The way that it works is that you essentially train NLP algorithms to understand tweets along lines that you want. So, positive, negative, neutral, sentiment analysis is the most usual way in which this is done. But it can be done in lots of other ways too. So, you define the categories that you want. You then give examples to an algorithm of those categories. Natural language processing algorithms can then look at these categories and they can look at the words being used and where they're used and in what way. And it begins to then define rules to fit tweets into these categories, mathematical models. And that allows you then, on a small body of data, to begin to then train algorithms to go off into the wilds of social media and begin to either cut away data that you don't want, or find the data that you do want, or divide data along ways which are analytically meaningful. I'll try and provide an example of this. One of the main technologies we've been working on at Chasm for the last 3 years is a way of allowing subject matter experts like all of you to build natural language processing classifiers quickly and easily. Our kind of main aim really is to kind of try and put the kind of big data analytics tools in the hands of people that really would find them most useful, and away from computer scientists or simply technical experts which actually know how they work. So this is a platform called Method 51. This platform allows you to define the categories you want, to train the model, and then collect all the tweets that you want, and then use that model to divide the tweets along the lines that you think are right. We've, through hard experience, been trying to work out how this vital new technology kind of fits in. Like, where can it work, where does it add value, and where it doesn't. And we know that it doesn't work well when it's generic. It doesn't work well when you try and set it off on a very long time span or a very broad body of tweets. We know it does work well when you make them bespoke on a particular data set at a particular time, on a particular kind of language. Then you can get data, then you can train algorithms to actually begin to, at very large scale and very quickly, divide tweets in a very accurate way, 80–90% accuracy. And it's absolutely, I mean, I can't stress this enough, we cannot find another approach which allows you to begin to turn the complexity of any given social media data set into something which you can actually begin to understand. This is X Factor. We did this about 3 years ago. You can see, basically, people, one of the great uses of Twitter is to use it as a proxy for you shouting at your TV screen. You can see here that people talk about the contestant they're seeing on the television as they're singing. And we can then build this, it looks quite complicated, but this is actually fairly straightforward. You can then build an architecture, a kind of data stream architecture, to collect the tweets in, sort them by contestants, so which person are they mentioning, use a natural language processing algorithm to try and identify people that were intending to vote for one contestant or not, and then kind of visualize it out. And then you begin to kind of fit this into a behavioural model. So we drew on cognitive psychology to look at biases, like recency biases. It unfortunately becomes incredibly clear that how broadcasters manipulate people to try and get their contestants either on or off. They won't manipulate the vote, but they'll do everything up to that. They know, as much as we know, that people are more likely to vote for contestants at the beginning or end of a show. There's about a 10% bias for the people in the middle of the show. So the people that they want off, the people they stick in the middle, in a badly fitting dress, with absolutely no production value whatsoever, the person they're desperately getting on goes first and has fireworks, all over the sky, and there's a kind of, a walk-on by Lady Gaga halfway through. So we drew on cognitive kind of psychology and kind of behavioural economics to understand important biases which are present in how people receive this. We also drew on psephology to understand that there's basically two main ways in which people vote. There's some people vote because they have long-standing kind of strategic brand affiliation to a party. I always vote for the Labour Party, I always vote for the Tories, because my parents did, and my grandparents did as well. And some people actually will go through the whole manifesto, sometimes literally working out which one makes them most economically best off, and they vote for that party. And likewise on X Factor, it's exactly the same. Some people will try and pride themselves in being open-handed and open-minded, and will vote for the person they think vote person off they think performed worst on the show. And some people are absolutely super fans of Janet Devlin and have set up their own Janet Devlin fan accounts on Twitter and Facebook, and will just pump out loads of stuff about Janet Devlin every day, or any of the other contestants. They all have their own super fans. So we use Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Some of this goes through natural language processing algorithms, some of it doesn't. Every week we know who gets voted off, so we know if we're getting it right or wrong. We put it all into a behavioural model. We did a live prediction on the website as it was running. It got quite meta actually, because some of the contestants realised we were doing this, and then started tweeting that they were on the bottom. We had this kind of hierarchy, this league table, and they realised in the bottom, and then they tweet to try and get themselves lifted up, and had a kind of weird reverse impact where actually some contestants were being lifted up a bit because all their fans saw that they were about to be voted off, at least in our prediction. You can see that this was how it worked overall, and you see actually it works quite well. Like it's actually possible to do this kind of stuff. We were getting it right more than we're getting it wrong, and this was completely unfunded. Actually, we should have actually gone to the bookies with some of this stuff. I mean, I kind of regret that we didn't. I didn't have any faith in it at the time. I thought it was all going to go completely wrong. But this kind of prediction modelling, behavioural modelling, I think is now, based on social media data, is now really that the doors are opening, I think, for the social sciences to do much more of this.